Hi everyone, I'm Louis Biondelillo from the Feliciano School of Business, the new face of our Feliciano features and now our Feliciano Lives. And welcome to our first Feliciano Live. Our guest today is Dr. Zamanian,
Yes.
the chair of the Department of Economics here at the Feliciano School of Business. And today what we're going to be doing, we're going to be talking about the United States-China trade war. We're going to see how it'll end, what are the effects, and we'll just be going through a bunch of things like that. Feel free at any time, if you have any questions, please comment them down below. We'll try to answer as many of them as possible during our Feliciano Live today. So with that, you ready to get started?
Oh, of course.
So between the United States and China, what tariffs have been imposed?
Well, since 2018, I think President Trump started imposing tariffs on China due to the trade imbalances and basically on many different commodities, over 6,000 different goods that we import from China. The beginning started from $200 billion, actually to 10 to 25% tariffs on $50 billion worth of goods coming from China to United States. And basically these items include the toys, sport commodities, and so many different things that coming from China. So that is the whole imposing the tariffs on China that started in 2018.
So you think it started in 2018 or 2016?
Well, 2018 started, but President Trump talking about the China for last 20 years,
Right.
that we have some imbalanced trade between the United States and China. So, but again, all these things started really in 2018.
So how did it escalate just from President Donald Trump speaking about it in the past 20 years to where we are now? Is it President Donald Trump's fault, or is there...
Well, there's nobody's fault. The point here that if we are importing almost $529 billion worth of goods and services from China, and we export $129 to $130 billion to China, so there is a gap between what we're exporting and what we're importing to the United States. Mm-hmm. And not only that, China imposes high tariffs on goods from the United States going to China, and we impose very low percentage of tariffs on Chinese goods coming to the United States. So therefore, there's imbalances between the trade rates and the tariff rates, and also goods that exchange between these two countries lead to this escalation. And I believe that what President Trump wants is fair trade or free trade, that they have to bring the rates down, and also they import more from the United States to China.
So in all of that, who do you think has the upper hand, the United States or China?
Well, we can say who has upper hand. I think both countries are strong enough to basically fight it for many years, or maybe I don't know how long. If you look at China's population, 1.5 billion people compared to the United States of 30 million, and the GDP of United States of $21 trillion compared to China. Both countries actually, they are strong enough, and but again, which country is going to last longer? Or right now, what is a positive thing happened that China exempt few items that going to China, open up those commodities like soybeans and pork and all these things. So both countries are strong enough. But I think that the United States eventually much more stronger than China.
Okay, so you think the United States is a little bit stronger, but they're both going to survive this.
Both survive, and eventually they're going to end up with a nice policy or nice agreement that both countries are going to benefit as a result of this escalation of this trade war.
So if you think at the end that both are going to benefit, are there any countries that this is really going to affect in a negative light?
In this process, of course, because a lot of small countries that actually in the process in the loop of the supply chain, so they get materials from the United States, they get materials from China to produce goods and export it. So most of those small countries are basically probably hurting more than a big country like United States or like China.
Okay. Just for our viewers tuning in right now, we're at the Feliciano School of Business. We're with Dr. Zamanian.
Yes.
Zamanian, I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
And we're talking about the United States-China trade war. And again, at any point, if you have any questions, please feel free, comment down below. We'll answer as many of those questions that we can during our Feliciano Live today here in the studio at the Feliciano School of Business. So back to the questions. So how will U.S. consumers directly be affected by this trade war? Will they see it in their daily lives, or is this just something that they can keep in the back of their heads?
Well, the effect on consumers is a short term and a long term. Of course, in the short term, the prices might go up, or maybe we are able to substitute those goods imported from other countries like India, like Thailand, like other countries. Well, in short run, there would be less commodities, price might go up, but in the long period of time, if still continue this trade war, we will adjust. We import goods from other countries that much cheaper. We change our behavior that not to buy some of these commodities come from China. But in the long run, definitely would be, I don't see that will affect that much. But in the short run, we are going to most likely paying a little bit more, which has not shown on data yet. Prices hasn't gone up yet, but that is basically might happen.
Do you think that we're going to see an end to this trade war anytime soon, or is this a bunch of years down the line?
Well, the question is that any disagreement will end eventually. How soon all depends on which country is going to start hurting or feeling that that pinch or hurt. I would say that I see that last week that China started to exempt some of the agricultural commodities. That should be a beginning of slow aggravation between these two countries, and I think that there will be a trade agreement most likely by beginning of next year.
So you think that the agreement will be before the 2020 presidential election?
Yes.
Okay. So you don't think there will be any effect from that election?
Well, of course there's going to be election effect because there are two things can happen. If this trade war does not end, what would happen to the election? Most people probably would say that we want to continue have that trade, and they're going to say that let's give President Trump a chance to continue have a trade agreement, and most likely to his benefit. And if this trade agreement is not going to end by 2020 election, I would say that still people are going to say that, well, we would like to continue this discussion and let President Trump have another chance to complete it. Mm-hmm. So either way, end or not end, I think President Trump is going to be reelected.
Okay. All right. So in 2020, we think that
because of the reason that people wants to these things happen, so they want in the middle of the negotiation with China, they don't want to change the players.
So you think that this trade war could be affecting the 2020 election?
Of course it will affect it.
Interesting. I was thinking when I was preparing for the interview, I was thinking it would be the opposite way, that the election would influence the trade war, but you think
the trade war is going to affect election because people make decision which direction they want to go. And I don't think that any negotiation people wants to really change the whole, the entire committee or entire people who are negotiating in the middle of the negotiation.
If you were the leader of the United States or of China, what would you do to end this trade war to benefit both countries?
First of all, I'm not the leader of either country, but see, each country trying to do some negotiation to benefit their own country. Mm-hmm. And that is a very important point that a lot of people don't see it. And therefore, I think that I cannot say what I'm going to do, but I think that both countries, China and the United States, will come to the table, will negotiate. China will reduce the tariffs rate. United States will increase a little bit. They settle at one rate or some kind of agreement that both countries are happy and both countries benefiting for the people of those countries. So both countries going to benefit after negotiation of all this chaos of the war that we have.
So you think that we have to struggle a little bit before we see the outcome?
It's a negotiation, right? Exactly. Right. It's going to be negotiation between the United States and China. So eventually, this negotiation has to settle somehow because it's going to be benefit of the United States and China. So eventually, they're going to agree on some kind of agreement that both countries are going to benefit from the trade.
All right. Well, those were our questions here for our Feliciano Live. We had Dr. Zamanian here, from the Department of Economics here at the Feliciano School of Business. And we were talking all about the trade war between the U.S. and China. You have some hopeful opinions of how it will end.
I'm very optimistic.
Good. I'm glad you're optimistic because you're the expert in
I'm not the expert, but but I think that we do look at the numbers and look at the behavior. But another thing is that China is a very hardcore socialist country. Government make a lot of decisions. And one of the things that we have to understand that we do not hear anything from the opinion of the Chinese people from news. Have you heard anything that what is a survey from the China's people thing? United States open and everybody talking on TV. So there is a distinction between these two countries, and they watch our behavior, and we cannot watch what they do, what people do. And that is the whole idea. And I'm pretty sure that eventually China will sit pretty soon and start negotiating that terms that going to affect both countries positively.
Good. Well, I'm glad that you're thinking that way. I hope that the way that you're thinking comes to truth, comes to what we're going to see.
It will.
All right.
I can actually.
Well, thank you so much.
No problem.
Zamanian from the the Feliciano School of Business. We were sitting down talking about the U.S. trade war with China, and that was our Feliciano Live. We hope to see you guys next week, same time, same place, right on Facebook Live. Feliciano Live, Thursdays at 1 p.m. So we'll see you guys next week. My name's Louis Biondolillo from the Feliciano School of Business.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.